Now let's take a look at the next step in the Solview Soldraw assignment with the machine block. Let's share our screen, my screen. Okay, we're going to add the front breakaway to show the circle, the hole that's in front of this cross section. So I'm going to zoom in on that. It helps if we can see the viewports. So I'm going to turn that layer on. I'm also going to make the section hatch layer current. Okay. Now we know that there is a circle that has to go here somewhere. Zoom out a little bit. Right now we're in paper space. So we need to draw in model space, and it's easiest to draw in model space from the paper space layout in what's called floating model. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the viewport to make sure that it's locked. That's going to come in really handy. Next step, I'm going to double click in here so that I have access to the drawing itself. Then I'm going to do a UCS command, 3-point, because I want to make sure I'm drawing in the right orientation and on the right surface. Okay, so I'm going to use just the simple 3-point with an origin, something along X and something along Y. I'm going to zoom in. This is why it's so important the lock is on, because by zooming in, it does not affect the zoom and the scale of this viewport. Okay. Now the easiest way to do this, actually the next step is, let's go to section viz. That's your section visible line layer, because we're going to draw on that layer. We're going to draw that circle. And you can use the original handout to find the center point of that circle, but there's an easier way to do that. When you do Soldraw, the Soldraw command turns off the original drawing itself. So we find that original drawing. Here it is, solid. See, it's frozen in current viewport. So I unfreeze it, and there it is. So now I draw a circle. I'm going to use the center radius command. I'm going to hover all over the edge of this circle till I find the center point. I'm going to zoom out till I get the quadrant. Go back to layers, turn off again the solid, and there's my circle. And this is in the foreground. So what you have to do is sort of create like cutting a slice out of a cake. So the next step, also on the visible layer, is I'm going to draw a spline. I type SPL, I'm going to turn off my snaps, and I'm just going to freeform and turn off ortho. I'm going to freeform spline just like so. Hit enter. Okay, so now this spline, which is going to be in the foreground, is crossing this bottom line, it's crossing this line, and it's crossing this line. Now this hatch keeps getting in the way, so I'm going to grab the hatch, I'm just going to move it up and out of the way. And then I'm just going to use the simple trim command, which is right there. I'm going to use this line, and this line, and this line, and this line, and the spline to cut across each other. I'm going to cut that back. I'm going to cut this back. I'm going to cut this back. And I'm going to cut this back. Hit escape. Now I can't trim this because it's not crossing anything, but I can click on it and delete it. So now I have this piece that's in the foreground. It's what's called a breakaway in a section. And now I have to rehatch the area around it. I'm going to pick on this hatch. Come on. What's going on? Kick me into paper space again. Okay, so I'm just going to double click in there. Save as you go, because sometimes weird things will happen. Just going to move this out of the way. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm still in the right UCS. Change my layer from section viz to section hat. Use the hatch command. which is down here. There's wipeout, here we go, hatch. You can also just type H. Internal point or select objects. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to click match properties, select hatch object. So I'm going to select the original and I'm going to hatch in here and just hit enter. I'm going to repeat the command by hitting enter and pick in here. Now, sometimes, let's delete the original, sometimes the hatch will be weird and will cross these lines. If that happens, don't worry. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to move these two up. I'm going to pretend that it didn't work right. If it doesn't work right, delete the spline and simply replace it with a circle. Something a little bit simpler. I know it looks a little like the Death Star. So I'm going to do trim again. I'm going to trim the bottom off. I'm going to repeat the trim command. I'm going to trim this piece and I'm going to trim this piece. Move this up. Move this up. I'm keeping them around so that I can match the properties. I'm going to do the hatch command. I'm going to hatch here, hit enter. Hatch here, hit enter. Now I drew this half circle on the wrong layer. So now I need to select it and change it from section hat to section viz. Delete the old hatch, save, and that's all there is to it. So let's stop share, stop the